Today we are talking about the hair mistakes that are aging you, that are aging me, that are aging all of us faster, or just the hair mistakes that we're making that is not very flattering. And I have someone on the channel today who you guys know, who you guys love, who I love. I was a huge, huge fan before I was a creator, and now I'm so honored to have this person as my friend. We have Justin Hickox. Justin Hickox is in the house.
What's going on, Gabby? You can't build me up like that because it's just too much. I'm not that special, so I appreciate you just for even having me on here to listen to my face and my mouth move.
You really are special. Actually, I was so inspired to start my channel because of you. You know, I reached out. It's a funny story, you guys who are watching. I reached out to Justin when I had, I think, 10,000 subscribers. I was like a baby channel, and I'm like, hey, I'm over here. Do you want to do a collab with me? And you actually wrote back and said, I would love to. And I was like, what? Because you were well over 100,000, probably even around 200,000 at the time that I reached out, and we did a collab, and it just speaks volumes to the person that you are and how kind and wonderful you are. So I have nothing but amazing things to say about you, and you know that.
Oh, and it goes backwards. You know how it goes. So I appreciate it all. I'm excited to be able to, the fact that we have a job where like we can just sit here and talk about this kind of stuff and people actually want to hear us speak. Like for some reason, we're lucky, to put it lightly, I feel like. So I'm just honored that I even get to be a part of all this, I guess.
I know, we are lucky. We really have like the best job ever. And for those of you guys who are watching who don't know, Justin and I actually did an in-person collaboration together a few months ago. So we got to meet in real life. I flew down to the States and we did a style off, this competition. It was one day. We had 3 models. We did it with another amazing YouTuber named Styles by Summer. And we competed to see who could give the biggest transformation in a 3-hour time span. And I have to say that Justin won by leaps and bounds. Like, reading the comments, I was like, oh, but like, well deserved. Your makeover was unbelievable.
It was, I don't want to say it was rigged, but I felt like it was a bit unfair though. So if you haven't actually seen one of those videos, we all did our own videos on our own respective channels. Definitely go check one of them out. It'll give you a little bit more insight if you haven't seen this, what we're talking about. I definitely feel a little bit like mine was, I don't feel like, again, it wasn't rigged, but I just had more of an opportunity, I think, to make a more dramatic change, right? You know, like I was able to take a client that I was, allowed to cut their hair quite a bit shorter. And anytime you do something that dramatic, it's just more dramatic, right? And so I feel like it wasn't necessarily better than you guys by any stretch. It was just more different, maybe, you know what I mean, to the eye. I think that's why people, I felt awesome, but I was just like, well, it's not that great. I mean, like, theirs is amazing too. So like, don't sell them short on it. It was so much fun though.
You're humble though, Justin, because even if it was because of the dramatic change, it was the choice that you made to do that dramatic change. And it really paid off, so it was.
Well, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. Wow.
Yeah, I still have nightmares about that collab.
Yeah, that was so much. That was so much.
Yeah. So I have a question for you before we get into our viewer questions. So I asked you guys in our community tab, in mine and in Justin's, what questions you have. We got loads of questions. I told Justin, I'm like, if this isn't a success, we can just go live for half an hour. And then I was looking at the community tab questions. I'm like, we're definitely going to go live for an hour. We'll never get through all of these. So we are live from 5 to 6 today. But before we get into all of your questions, and feel free to leave them in the chat as well, I'll pop up questions. We'll try to get through as many as we can. I wanted to ask Justin how, for those on here who don't know you or know your story, how, what's your history with hairstyling and how did you eventually get on YouTube?
So my history, I was born to hairstylist parents. So my parents had a salon. They had a pretty large salon. At one point, they actually had one of the two largest salons in the United States. It was a day spa. It was like one of the first kind of like real day spas back in the day. But long and the short, I mean, they just, my dad did not believe in nepotism. And so what that meant was every day after school, like from 14 until I graduated high school, like I was not going to stay around home and get myself in trouble, which I would have done. I was on a bus to head downtown to go to work. And I worked at the salon, swept floors, stocked shelves, did the days end books, was receptionist, all the things. And so it's really kind of like all I've ever known. My parents would constantly go to like different places, Europe or whatever, for different hair shows. And they dragged me and my brother along. And so we were all kind of like always around the high fashion world of the hair industry. And then went to hair school in 1995 and graduated and came back and went through an apprenticeship program and did all the things at the salon, got on the floor. And then when opened my own salon, in 2000. And then when COVID hit, everybody got shut down. So it's kind of like as a stylist, you make money when you're behind the chair. And if you're not making anything behind the chair, then you're not making any money. So it's pretty much, all right, well, I'm comfortable in front of a camera and I enjoy videography and stuff like that. So let's figure out a way to add some value to people and hopefully get a little income going so that I can afford to continue. So that's where the YouTube channel was born. And it just so happened that I got really lucky with a really awesome community that just kind of, stood behind me and said, all right, we'll grow the channel. And I mean, wholeheartedly, I believe that the community grew the channel. I don't believe that I grew the channel. I put up videos and then they showed up. Right. So that's kind of where that came from.
Yeah, I have such a similar story with COVID in the salon. I had my salon during COVID as well. And like here in Ontario, we had the longest lockdown of any place in the whole entire world. And it was just brutal. There were months where I'm like, what am I going to do? I have a family. It was hard. So, but it gave us the path towards this. COVID was really difficult for so many people with health and everything. So I never want to say like it was a blessing in a way, because I don't believe that COVID was a blessing, especially not for those who were affected with family members getting really sick. But for me, it pivoted my career path in a way that I am very thankful for now.
I fight that same struggle. I constantly tell my wife the same exact thing. I'm like, I feel so bad saying that it's kind of was a blessing because it was a blessing for us. Right. So not a blessing in general, but I can't look at COVID and not think, well, because of COVID, because of that specific circumstance, we have the ability to do what we do today. And I would not be doing this. I can pretty much guarantee it if I did not have that happen. Right. So, but I struggle with the same thing. It's like, but it sounds so it's not, there's no empathy behind that. Right. Because that's not the truth for so many people. Right. So,
yeah.
Lucky.
Okay, so let's get into our first question. So
yeah, let's do that.
Karen, her name is Karen. She has a YouTube channel called Exploring Canada. If you guys are Canadian, you should check out her channel. It's Exploring Canada. She asked, how do you keep colored hair looking fresh? This is an age-related question, but it's a question a lot of people have. So I'll let you start with this one, Justin.
Great. No, so there's a lot of answers to that. First of all, I think we need to pay attention to why color is not looking fresh. And usually that's because it's fading. Depending on what kind of color you're doing, you're going to see some fade in it to begin with. So if you're doing something like a demi-permanent or a semi-permanent color that has less pigmentation to it than, say, a permanent color, then that's automatically going to fade more. And that fade could tend to look a little bit less fresh. So with that said, how do you kind of get any of those to stop fading so that they always look a little bit stronger? And that comes from the shampoo you're using, how often you're using shampoo, what kind of hot tools or how kind of hot styling that you're doing. Just remember that sun, any sort of like heat products, heat tools, all of those things will rob your hair of that pigment, right? So anything that you can do to kind of calm that down is going to go a long way to keeping that color looking more vibrant. Shampoos, I think, are a big one because and I'm not saying that you're doing this, but I have seen a lot of people do this. Hey, my hair feels kind of oily and greasy, so I need to use a shampoo that's, say, a stronger shampoo, a more stripping shampoo more often so that I can get that oil out. But what they might not realize is that a lot of those stronger shampoos aren't meant to be used every day at all. And most shampoos kind of really aren't meant to be used every day. And that could be alone what's stripping all of that color out of your hair. So that could have a huge impact on it. I would say that paying attention to when you're using heat and how you're using heat, paying attention to the fact that you're not using a shampoo that's too strong for your hair or shampooing too often. And if you have some sort of color-based shampoo, so there's a lot of like, I think there used to be a company called Artec. I honestly don't know if they're still around now, but they have like, sunflower shampoo that you can actually color match to the color of your colored hair. Those can help really keep that vibrant as well. And then anything to help protect it. So hair protectants, I don't want to, toot my own horn, but I've got one called Just Defrizz, which is something that just kind of protects against the heat, but also helps give your hair shine. So stuff like that, it goes a long way to keeping that color looking fresh. I feel like that's a very long answer.
No, that's really good. Giving detail is good. I find as well, when it comes to like losing your color quickly, sometimes the culprit can be really hot water. So water opens the cuticle layer, right? So the way that colors work is that when you have a permanent hair color, it's actually the molecule goes into the cortex of the hair. So the hair has the cuticle layer, which looks like shingles on a roof. And then when they open, there's a cortex, which is underneath, like the inner part of the hair. So when you're using a permanent color, you're changing the chemical composition of the color with, putting the color molecule in the cortex. When you're using a demi or a semi, you're just staining the cuticle layer. So it's like you're just staining your deck. So when you're using permanent color and it's fading a lot, what could be happening is that you're blasting the cuticle layer open with the heat, and then the color that's in the cortex is coming out. So if you really, really want to keep your color vibrant and you're not worried about inconveniencing yourself, like this was me when I had red, I was like a bright red for a little bit. I would I would wash my body, get out of the shower, and only wash my hair in ice cold water. And it sucks, but it will keep your color looking fresh for at least double the time.
The minute you mentioned hot water, I knew where you were going. And I was like, oh, it's true though, 100%. Not only is that sealing the cuticle down with cold water is good for so many levels. So many different things, aside from just keeping color looking fresh, right? You're also adding the illusion of more shine. It just looks nicer. It's healthier. It's better for the hair. They talk about all the health benefits associated with it as well, right? I think we've all seen all of that stuff coming into play for over like the last 6 months, especially. So there's a ton of good. I hate it on every level. The last thing I want to do is put cold water on my head, but it does work. It is good.
I know it depends on how high maintenance you are. I went through a high maintenance phase because I'm so low maintenance now, clearly. But in my 20s with my red hair, I was like 10 out of 10 high maintenance. I'm like, if that water's warm, it's not going near my head.
I don't want to beat this down too much either, though, but just because you brought up red hair, can we speak specifically about red hair real quickly? In case you didn't know, so when you look at hair color on a molecular level, the red molecule is actually very different than any of the other molecules. And this might be why if you've ever had your hair colored red, you found that it faded very quickly, but it's also one of the hardest to get out of the hair once it's in the hair. So if you go dark red and then you want to go blonde next week, the probability of you getting your hair back to blonde is really low if it's still on your head. It might be on the floor, but it's going to be a tough one, right? I don't want to get too deep into why that is, but it is the shape of the actual molecule is trying to penetrate that cortex like she was talking about a second ago. So to kind of keep that in mind, part of the reason that probably you, Gabby, already realized this, that when you did that when you were with red hair, is because with red hair, you basically have to do everything that you can in your power to keep that red, because all it wants to do is fade. And most of it is going to come out the day after you shampoo it, the first day after you get it done, and then you shampoo, simply because most of it didn't actually penetrate. It's just sitting on the outside of your hair and it's just rinsing right off. So keep that in mind. If you're going red, that's a big deal for sure.
That's the problem with reds. Like, as much as I love doing them in the salon, they were high impact colors. They were beautiful when you walked out the door. They were great Instagram moment. It's the hardest color to keep and also the hardest color to get rid of. Yep. It's like two opposing things that are true. Because how can something hard to keep be hard to get rid of? You will have this tinge of red. It's such a pain in the butt. I mean, it looks amazing. If you're committed to it, go for it. But it is the last thing you want to do if you're a low maintenance person.
Exactly. Good call.
Yeah. Okay. So here's one from our chat. This is from B. Hey, B. So we decided to go gray. I decided to go gray. What shampoo should I use, or should I continue with the same?
B, that's a great question. It depends on what shampoo you're using right now. But with that said, gray hair. So the thing you want to think about with gray hair is what you're trying to do is just eliminate the possibility of it yellowing over time. That's usually what people are kind of worried or concerned about. As far as the textural change, many times it might change and get maybe a little bit more coarse, so if you're seeing some textural change, then you might want to switch up the shampoo that you're using. Again, without knowing what you're using, it's kind of tough to say, but there are a few violet or blue shampoos out there or conditioners that can help to kind of cut out the yellow. So that might be something that you're looking into, or that it's worth looking into. But as far as that, I wouldn't worry so much about, or beyond that, I wouldn't worry so much about the actual gray in your hair. I would think more about just the texture of your hair in general and what you're doing to it, and kind of approach the shampoo and or conditioner based on that, not so much the fact of the color. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Gabby, does that make sense?
100%. That totally makes sense. Basically what he's saying is that when you're looking for a shampoo or conditioner or a styling product, and I talk about this a lot in my videos as well, you're picking something for the situation that you have. So just because your friend is like, this is the best volume product I've ever used, look how amazing my hair looks, her hair looks amazing, you might use that product and it won't at all look the same on your hair, because your hair needs different things. So if you have gone gray and your hair is suddenly really fine and it wasn't before, then you might want to incorporate something like a purple shampoo once a week. And then you want to add volumizing shampoos, really light volumizing conditioners for adding bulk and lift to the hair. But if you go gray and all of a sudden your hair's coarse and wiry and hard to control, and whereas before it was softer, then maybe you want to do things that are more hydrating, smoothing products for control, words like control, smoothing, texture. So it's not so much the color that's the issue, it's how the textural changes have happened and how to manage that change with products. And one other thing that I want to say is that oftentimes I think that people, especially in my comment section, I see that they're looking for the solution in the product, but so much of the time the solution is in the styling. The product aids, but you are not going to have gorgeous, like knock your socks off hair from a product. It's how the product works with the styling. And if you could only have one thing, product or styling, it's 100% styling.
Okay. Let's put this in perspective, actually, Gabby. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's such a good point. And I'm sure there's going to be questions along this line. What people I think don't recognize or don't know is that stylists, like if you give me a new product and I've never used the product before, I'm going to be testing it a lot. And there's times where I'm going to use it and it's not going to work for me, even though I know how to use product, right? And that's going to change with the amount I use or however I go about using, said product. But now if you take that same product and give it to somebody that's going to do their hair completely different, it's going to function totally different. I'm using the right technique and doing it the same on every single time. And I'm just changing the way I apply the product. When we're testing things, we already know how to go about using it, and we still get not always great results, right? So imagine if you're not doing it correctly, what kind of results you might get, even though the product functions really, really well. There's a lot of testing that goes into it. Anytime you try a new product, especially if it's a volumizer specifically, I think, really play with the amount that you use. Use too much, use too little, but then understand that otherwise, kind of what Gabby was saying, you're trying to build a house. And if there's not a foundation for your house, you're not putting a roof on that. It's not going to be pretty. It doesn't work like that. That foundation is the functioning way you approach styling it. What brush you're using, how you're using the brush, what kind of blow dryer. And I'm not talking brand specific. I'm just saying, is the blow dryer, does it have enough air pressure? Is it getting hot enough? Are you pointing the air in the correct direction? Are you utilizing root lift, or different techniques to create root lift to help to create some of that structure for volume? Are you getting enough bend from the mid shafts to the ends to create actual volume? There's a lot that goes into it. It's not as simple as just the shampoo, or I'm sorry, the product. So Another long, you asked me if I could talk for an hour, and that was a terrible question on your part. I will talk for much longer than an hour. So move on.
You and I both, Justin and I were talking, we were DMing, and he's like, oh, I can talk. And I'm like, we're hairdressers. That's what we do.
I apologize ahead of time, folks.
We talk first, we style second.
This is the truth.
This is a really good question. So is there a good shampoo and conditioner I can buy at Target, or should the shampoo and conditioner be pro shampoo and conditioner? And we actually had another question that was very similar left on Justin's community board. And it was about, what is the difference? Like, is it just fancy packaging? Because sometimes I really feel, actually, I know that's the case for makeup. I'm also a makeup artist. And sometimes like a L'Oreal foundation and an Estee Lauder foundation will be almost the same. And oftentimes they're manufactured in the same place, but they're packaged and branded differently. So one feels prestige and elite, and the other one feels more accessible and budget friendly. So in terms of hair products and shampoo and conditioner specifically, what are your opinions on that, Justin?
There are so many wet lines out there to begin with. Like, this is unfortunately an extremely broad question, but I'll give you the baseline on it. Trying to speak to what you were just saying, Gabby. I'm not going to name names here, but I can tell you with a lot of confidence, there's one particular brand that used to be around. I think it actually still is around. There's two brands from a larger parent brand. The larger parent brand, everybody knows about. We've all heard of it. These two of their little brands, so there's a certain amount of money that went into research and development for these two brands. It was split down the middle. So that means that both of these products got the same amount of money to develop and research and figure out how to make them function. Essentially, at the end of the day, these were two of the exact same product in different packaging. One of these products sold for $20 a bottle, depending on what it was within that line. And the other one would sell for $40 to $50 for the exact same product. So what I'm getting at is you have one company that owns two products, and both of these product lines, let's say, might have a shampoo in them. Well, the shampoo from this line costs $20. This one costs $50, and it's the exact same product in different packaging. So it isn't always the money that you're spending that's just inherently buying you a better product. As a professional stylist, here's been my concern. What I've seen with some of the drugstore shampoos is not that they were all bad, but it's more that if something's going to go bad, that's where you're going to find it. And what can go bad, which is the biggest culprit, is, especially in shampoos and conditioners, is buildup, right? And so what happens is these companies will load their product with different kinds of silicones that don't wash out. They're not water soluble at all. They don't rinse out. They don't burn off with heat, which a lot of other silicones will. And so what they'll do is they'll build up on your hair over time. And that buildup, you won't realize it. The reason they build up is because they want your hair to be shiny. They want it to look like it's got luster and it's healthy. But in reality, what you don't realize is that underneath that, it's damaging your hair. But that coating is actually making it look pretty. But then all of a sudden, you use this product for a while, and then you find that your hair is feeling kind of flat. It doesn't really work the same. And there's just something going on. You can't put your finger on it. You come into me, I scrape your hair cuticle, and it scrapes like you're scraping the edge of a candle with a knife. It just curls up, and that's that wax buildup. And I say the shampoo did that, or the conditioner, or a combination of the both. The problem is that's weighing your hair down. It's not functioning well. And when I use volumizing product, for instance, that used to work really well, I'm so sorry. That is the iOS does that. I don't know if I move the wrong way, it does that kind of weird stuff.
I don't know what just happened there, but you have
it did that to me the other day on a call, and it scared me. I was like, what is going on? If I thumbs up, it'll do that. Or if so anyway, but the bigger issue is that now the products that I have that would work for volume won't even work for volume. And I get to strip your hair out. So then what'll happen is you'll go and you'll strip your hair out. You'll use a stripper shampoo, and you go, oh, I changed my shampoo and now my hair doesn't look good. It's looking really dry. Well, what you're seeing is not the new shampoo. It's the result of the last shampoo that you used, that now you're seeing what it actually did, but it was covered up with that buildup. And so now you've got to take the process of getting your hair back to healthy again. And then it starts working. So that's the fear with store-bought shampoos. If that kind of stuff is going to happen, it's more likely it's going to happen then with those than it is with most professional products. Not to say that it won't happen with professional products, just less likely. As far as exactly which ones to use, honestly, there's so many. I couldn't even begin to tell you where. You know who would be a good asset for that? If you guys are unfamiliar with the Blow Up Professor, he is a stylist. So he owns a salon that just does blow dries. They don't cut or he doesn't cut at least or do anything like that. I don't believe the salon does. And so they use a lot of products. They go through a ton of them. He would be a solid asset to check out, you guys, if you haven't checked his channel out, for the specific brand names of different products that would work really well. I don't know if Gabby, do you have any that you absolutely love?
In terms of drugstore?
Either or, drug or professional.
Oh, I don't even know where to begin. I have so many products that I use. I use a lot of Alterna. Yeah. There's so many different things that I use for different reasons. I can't think of anything totally off my head. But one thing that I did want to add when Justin was talking about the silicone buildup, I think sometimes clients think that we're just being like, I am very much against shaming clients. Like I would never shame a client for using box dye. I have a whole box dye playlist on my channel teaching you how to use box dye better. You know, 100%. I never shame clients for cutting their own hair. Like even if it's crooked, like I just fix it. Like it's all good. You know, it's your hair. You do what you want. But I think sometimes clients feel like we're like pushing product to make more money. And I know that at least for me, that was never the case. There were times when I was doing someone's hair and I could tell they're using really inexpensive shampoos and conditioners. And the reason I could tell is because of that heaviness and that weight on the hair. And one of the things that would happen sometimes is when I was foiling and highlighting, the foils would puff up like little potatoes. Did you ever have that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the lightener is reacting to the silicone buildup and it's creating like this whole chemical reaction it starts to generate a lot of heat. So the foils get super, super hot and they puff. And so even the client would say, no, I'm using, all the professional stuff. And I'm like, you're absolutely not. I can tell in the foils, but I mean, it's fine. Like you do what you want to do. But what will happen sometimes is if you are loading your hair with those really inexpensive products or causing that silicone buildup, you're not going to get the performance from your hair. So it has nothing to do with the stylist. It's more about like hindering your own hair performance. If you want to use it and it doesn't bother you, then totally 100% do it. But then if you're feeling like, man, my hair's way down or my highlights aren't turning out well, like why? You can start looking at maybe it's the product and the buildup there.
I'm 100% behind you. I mean, like I literally created an entire course, like a masterclass on how to cut your hair at home. I give zero cares if people cut their hair at home. More power to you. Rock with it. I want to tell you how to do it right, so you don't hate your hair. But as far as like products go, I'm with you 1,000% there too. I've always told clients, like, I've never tried to sell a product. I don't care where you buy it. Don't get it from me, get it from somewhere else, find it on Amazon. It doesn't matter. But it only makes my job easier if you're using a product that works for your hair and you're going to like your hair more. And guess what happens? If you go to a good stylist, right? And you go to a good stylist, you leave, you like your hair, but you're using products that aren't really doing it well, right? You're going to leave there and not realize over time it's going to happen. It's not going to happen right now that you don't like your hair. It's going to be over a few months that you're going to realize something's not right. But what's going to happen is you're not going to think it's a product. Your first inclination is going to think that, well, my stylist isn't working out. I'm not getting the volume. They won't cut my layers shorter. They won't do this or they won't do that. The color isn't looking quite right. And we're going, it's the product 100%. Like I just want you to use a good product so that you love your hair. So you don't think that I'm, like it doesn't do me a service having you use something that you're not going to like. If we can find that product for super cheap, rad, go get it. I don't get it from, like it's always going to be in your best interest to find a stylist that just doesn't care where you get it, but to use something that you are going to like, that's going to make your hair look good. Because at the end of the day, I want you to like your hair, period. That's number one. Whether I like it or not, I don't care. I want you to like it.
Oh, I totally agree. Like there's nothing better than when you see a client posting a picture and they look amazing and you're like, yeah, like I get so committed to it. I mean, I'm a bridal stylist, so I have a bridal business. I do a lot of weddings, a lot. My company does anywhere from 60 to 80 weddings a year. And I literally stalk my brides. I'm like, what did her makeup look like at 10 p.m.? What did her makeup look like at 9? Oh no, it rained. What is her hair looking like now? Like it's, because we really want you guys to feel beautiful. And so, when your stylist is suggesting something, if they're a stylist that you trust, really, take it into account because they really just want to look at you on Instagram later and be happy.
Exactly.
So this is a question that we just got that goes really well with the conversation we're having. So can I use a purple shampoo from one brand and then a hair mask and conditioner from another brand? Should I stay in the same line for everything? So I'll answer this real quick and then I'll see what Justin thinks. 100%. Like, I am not like a one brand person. I mix everything, both in hair and in makeup. So sometimes I'll use a root lifter from one brand because it works well. And then I'll use a volume mousse from another. I mix and match my shampoo and conditioners. Like right now I'm using some Nioxin because I've had issues with hair thinning. And then I'll use like a richer conditioner from a completely different brand. So it's not like you have to stay in the same brand, in my opinion, ever, like at all.
100% agree. I couldn't agree more. Don't let a brand try to tell you that you need to stay within the same brand and that somehow it's magically going to be the only way that product works. And 9 out of 10. I mean, there might be some situations where that is true. We're like, yes, these two particular products function really well together and they do play off of each other. In my experience, that's been very, very, very rare though. And especially when it comes to styling products, I personally draw a line. If a product line is telling you cannot use other products with my product, to me, that's a red flag. And I would say, no, I don't, I 1,000% disagree with that. Use whatever makes it work for you, period.
Yeah. The only time I think that may be true is if you're doing these little mini keratin, I believe they're mini keratin treatments. So like Dream Coat Color Wow, it actually creates like a sealant on the hair so that humidity can't penetrate through. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that product. Yeah. It's Chris Appleton's product. Yeah, so that is the only product where it says specifically on the bottle, do not use with another product. But it's not another brand of product, it's another product because
in general.
Yeah, that product has to be used alone because the interference of other products won't make the product do the effect that it's wanting to do. But that's literally the only situation I've ever seen. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, this is a good question. Actually, I would love to hear this because Justin recommends non-sulfate products. Do you still feel that is best? So can you go into sulfate-free products, what sulfates are, that whole thing?
Oh, oh my gosh, there's so much when it gets into sulfates. I actually like literally a long time ago, I wrote a paper on sulfates and like sodium lauryl sulfate, sodium lauryl sulfate, all of the things. So here's the thing with sulfates. There's a lot of people that will play both sides. They'll say on one hand that they cause cancer, which when I was doing the research, they were showing that they couldn't find the Cancer Association was saying, hey, we have not seen one instance where this has been, carcinogenic in any way whatsoever. I don't know anymore if that's true or not. So there might have been some new research that shows that they could potentially be carcinogenic, but I haven't seen one way or the other. The main thing with sulfates, I think one of the major concerns is that people say, so sulfate, if you don't know what it is, it's essentially what makes your shampoo sud up, right? So for a lot of people, that's what makes you feel like your hair is getting clean. If your soap suds, then it's working. And if it doesn't, then it's not. That is not true. But if that's the way you feel and makes you feel better, there's a lot of shampoos that do have a sulfate in them that will help to increase the suds, and they're not bad at all. The sodium lauryl, and I actually get them confused now, the sodium lauryl versus sodium laureth. Do you know which one is the really strong one, Gabby?
I want to say
no. Okay. I'll have to look into them again. I've spent so long, I get them confused. But either way, the one that's super damaging, the same one that they use in like industrial cleaners, that's not in shampoos. Like 9 out of 10 shampoos, you're not going to see that inside of those shampoos. They're using I believe it's sodium laureth sulfate, which is basically the same thing that you'd have in like a baby shampoo that they use specifically for infants so that they don't if it gets in their eyes, it doesn't irritate them and make them cry. Those are really I've never had that big of an issue with them. I still don't have that big of an issue with them. I think I typically recommend a shampoo and conditioner, one specifically from Hair Story, that just happens to be sulfate free. It's not because I'm necessarily against sulfates. It's simply because I actually like that shampoo and conditioner because it's shampoo and conditioner one and it functions really well. But again, it doesn't set up. And so for a lot of people, that doesn't work for them. And they just have an attachment to the suds. So it doesn't really work. But for the most part, I'm not hyper stressed about sulfates, and I'll probably get ran over the coals for that. But Yeah, I mean, I'm just not stressed. It really depends on which one, but like I said, you're not going to see the really nasty ones in shampoos nowadays. They're just kind of not around. But if you can educate me, if somebody's on here, they've actually read, like research that's shown as carcinogenic, the ones specifically used in shampoo, I'm 100% behind it. Let me know. But I just haven't seen that.
Yeah, I have. I was not inclined to comment on this first because, so I have a science background.
Speak. You trying to throw me under the bus? Is that what's going on? No, it's going. Go ahead.
No. It's the reason I'm not inclined to speak about this is because I also am not 100% sure what the scientific literature is, and I think sometimes what can happen with like organic products, they're all natural. They're marketing terminologies. And it's a way to sell things. But when you're actually looking at the scientific literature behind what that actually means, or if what that means results in something negative, because sometimes we think like, I want all natural, but then does something that's all natural lead to a better end result? Does something that's all natural lead to better health? Does something that's all natural? Because I mean, like poison ivy is also natural, and like lots of poisons and carcinogens are also natural. So I think sometimes we get confused with those terms. Am I saying that you should use products with sulfates? I honest to God do not know. I haven't looked into the literature, but I would encourage you to question why you're looking for something that's a certain way. And if there actually is data to prove that, and there's actually science behind that, or if that's just a marketing tactic.
Yeah, there's a lot. I remember I've had some products that have alcohol in them. People go, I can't use alcohol because it dries your hair out. Well, these are actually conditioners. So like, like there's so many different products that you have to remember too, that a lot of companies, just like Abby said, will spin things just as a marketing game. And I'm not saying that that's what they're doing with sulfate specifically. I'm just saying in general with these different ingredients, there's a lot of times where they are as bad as people are making them out to be. And then there's other times where they're not as bad, or not all of them are bad, but they just get a bad rep because one, not every silicone is the same as every other silicone, right? Like, there are certain ones out there that like flash off, they say flash off, burn off, right? Like come out very quickly, right? Like they're not going to build up. And then there's some that will build up, but just because it's got a generic name silicone doesn't inherently mean that you're going to get buildup on your hair. It could, it just doesn't kind of work that way. So I think what you said is perfect. I would definitely just say, question things. Have a question about it, and then do the research and look into it and understand not just why you're wanting that, but also like what's the truth behind it. Do a little deeper research into that kind of stuff, because it's really easy to just, okay. And then you don't really know why you're doing something or if it's right or wrong.
Yeah. And I'm absolutely guilty of it too. Like when I first started YouTube, I would give tips like, make sure your shampoo is sulfate free. And then when I started, I'm like, why am I saying that? Like, what does that do? Do I actually know that that's a problem, or is that just something that I've been conditioned to say? Because that's, you know what I mean? I'm not saying sulfates are good or bad. I literally don't know. So, but just before you're just do your research. Okay. So here's another good question. Laura says, is there a product to make your ends look healthier without cutting them off? I'm not willing to lose my length right now. A lot of people have this question. Yeah,
that is. So it's tough because it depends on what's breaking them off and how kind of broken they are, right? I don't have a lot of experience with the K18 product. I don't know if you do, Gabby, but if you've ever heard of Olaplex. So there's Olaplex is a kind of brand. They have a bunch of different products within that brand, but their number 1, 2, and 3 of that are the ones that I actually do like. And then K18 is kind of a similar product to those. It works on the kind of the similar line. So you have something in your hair called disulfide bonds. And when these disulfide bonds kind of break apart, that's a lot of the reason that you get breakage. And so what these products can do is go in and actually rebuild those disulfide bonds. I don't know that, if I'm completely honest, that will help broken ends. I know that it makes the hair stronger, but I don't know that there's a way that I have personally seen that you can make those ends lay flat or rebond themselves to look like a normal one hair shaft, if that makes sense. That's a really good question. If it were going to be me, I'd probably try the Olaplex number 3 is the only one that you can buy unless you have a stylist friend that'll get you number 2. But 3 or K18 and see if either of those work. I haven't seen much else. Usually by the time they kind of get split and broken, it's like get those very ends off, start with something strong, and then just keep the rest of it strong. It's kind of like it's almost like a frayed piece of string or yarn, right? And it just kind of breaks at the end. And it's like, you can't always just like, wrap that back together and just get it to stay. It's still kind of like a little frayed. Sometimes you just need to cut that off and then start with that strong again and then kind of grow up from there. But I don't know if that really answered the question or not. Probably didn't help.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really tricky question. When I was trying to grow my hair out, I also had the same issue. So I can definitely sympathize with it. The way that I see it is that the ends of the hair is kind of like pantyhose. I think that women can really relate to that analogy. And when you get a little tear in your pantyhose, it goes zoop, and it will zip right up, right? And there's not really much it's not like you can sew it closed because it has this natural tendency to want to zip. So you can, this is the issue. Sometimes I always think, and this is what I would tell my clients as well, like, are you committed to your length at the risk of it looking good? Because without a strong baseline, your hair will not look good. There's no one in the world that's like, I want my hair to be here. And from here to here, I want it to be kind of like straggly, And actually, you just said that in your latest video, which was an excellent video.
Well, thank you. But no, and
in your latest video.
Can we look at this from another perspective too? Because this is kind of a question for folks that have a little bit longer hair and are trying to see more length. We have to remember that hair grows from the scalp, not from the ends, right? So it's not getting longer, it's getting longer. And so if you really want to see more length, it's easy to focus on the ends and not wanting to do anything to them or try to get them repaired because that's the strength. But in reality, paying more attention to how are you eating? Are you stimulating blood circulation? Are you in your scalp? Like, are you rubbing your scalp? Stuff like that, or like little things. Are you, again, eating healthy, exercising, taking care of yourself, all the internal things that actually get your hair to grow faster. And so that you can see that length. Not only though, will that help I know it's not the sexy answer. It's not the quick and simple, easy answer, but it's the answer that actually works. And if you really want to see more length, not only will eating better and taking care of yourself, not that you aren't right now, I don't know your situation, but as a whole, if we want to see more length, not only will eating better and taking care of ourselves better actually get us more length faster because it will encourage like blood circulation, which encourages hair growth, but it also keep your hair healthier in that process. So there's a lot of things going on, not even getting into the drying process and the way we're using heat and all that stuff that we talked about before. All of those things play a factor. In fact, all of those things play a much larger factor than getting those ends stronger. That's kind of like the lesser of the concerns, I think, in that perspective.
Yeah, totally. You want that baseline, right? That baseline to be strong. In fact, when the baseline looks nice and strong without split ends, your hair actually looks longer. It's crazy. I've had situations where clients were like, oh my God, you cut my hair and it looks longer. And it does, because when your ends are frayed, that doesn't add to your length. It really doesn't add to your length visually. So when you have a nice strong baseline, whether that's here or here, it's going to add to the length. Visually, the person will think your hair is longer. So I just want to give a really quick little shout out to Summer Beauty. Summer is in the house.
What's up, Summer?
Summer's adding to our sulfate conversation. Too bad we need like a 3-way live stream. We should bring Summer in for a live stream maybe in a couple of weeks or next week even.
You should, yeah, definitely. And I was right. Thank you so much for that, Summer. It's lauryl sulfate that's not great, and it's much worse than the laureth sulfate. So check your bottle, at least if you're going to find one that's going to have a sulfate in it. So many are sulfate free now, but if you do, then look for the laureth sulfate.
Yeah.
We actually had an old product that had sodium lauryl sulfate in it. It was a shampoo, and it was our gentle cleansing. It was our most gentle shampoo. And like 90% of people that walked in the salon could use that shampoo and they would have loved it. And it was like our biggest seller. And there was never really like an issue. It's, but get off the sulfate. I'll go on that one forever too.
Speaking of Summer, I just want to let you guys know. So when we did the collab with Summer, her channel Styles by Summer is like a very incredible educational cutting tutorial. But she has recently launched a brand new channel called Summer Beauty, and it's a styling channel. So it's a lot of what I do. It's a lot of like kind of Justin's style of content. And she is brand new to that channel, and it's absolutely amazing. I'm going to put her link in the pinned comment of this video after we're doing the replays. If you guys want to, follow another hair creator that's a really incredible hair creator, I really, really recommend that you follow Summer Beauty. I just have to shout her out because I really think 100%. She is one of the best creators on the platform. So, and she's very creative, much more creative than I am.
100%.
Recent videos, they're really good.
Oh yeah, I'm in a creative slump, so watching some of that, I'm like, oh, I need to do that.
I watch your videos and I'm like, oh, that's too much work for me. Okay, let's pop up another question here. So this was a question that was done before. I'm having a hard time keeping up with the chat, so I'm so sorry, you guys, that we're not getting to all the questions. But there was a question that's been repeatedly commented on from other viewers, being like, I want to know that too, and I want to know that too. And it's about hard water. So the original question, I believe, was about hard water. What do you do if you have hard water, and how does hard water affect the hair?
Ooh, hard water is tough, man. Hard water, if your hair is light, it's going to make it orange or yellow. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the bigger issues I see with it. As far as dealing with it, there are a few shampoos out there, but realistically, I find that the real way to deal with it is to either get one of those shower heads, the shower heads that actually filter it out. You have to filter it on some level before it gets to your hair. 9 out of 10 times, I haven't seen anything that really does well with, and depending on how, like if it's well water or if there's just a little bit more of the mineral content to your water. But if it's like well water, it can be tough. And I haven't seen anything that over the counter, like just product wise, that has really like touched it. I mean, the issue is you can use like stronger shampoos, but then you're running that risk of like, yeah, and my stronger shampoo is maybe like pulling out some of the deposits, but it's also like not so great for my hair, and I shouldn't be using this all the time. So I'm kind of causing another problem while trying to somewhat fix one problem. 9 out of 10 times, the best way you can deal with it is just figure out a way to get that mineral content out of the water before it hits your head. And that usually stems from some sort of filtration system connected either to the shower faucet or in the garage somewhere, wherever your hot water heater is. But yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, there's no simple answer, unfortunately, that I've seen.
I know I've had some issues with clients who have had it as well. And actually, I was in Mexico in the winter last year, and there was hard water there clearly. And my hair looked terrible. I know all the tricks, you guys. I know every trick in the book. And I had like fuzzball, and it was way down. It was awful. So one of my friends who was struggling with hard water, she messaged me. There's an area in my city that has hard water. It's really bizarre. Like it's like one specific area that it was really bad. And she ended up buying a water softener filtration from Amazon. It goes right on the shower head, just like Justin was saying. And she messaged me 2 days later because I was like, you need to buy this thing. And I'm researching and sending her links. She's like, have you used it? I'm like, no. Tell me if it works. And she said in 2 days, her hair was like 100% normal again, so I do think that it works, judging from her and actually another client who did the same thing. So, and it's not very expensive. You just have to attach it to your shower head.
Would you be able to throw a link somewhere for if you can find that one? Because there's a lot of them out there, and if you know one that works really well, that would be. I think everybody here would love to see that, because I think a lot of people have hard water, or on some level have hard water. Yeah. That's an issue thing.
I'll message my friend and I'll go back in our chat and I'll find the specific one that she bought, because she was like mind blown by how her hair and it's overnight. It's like really bad and then it's fine again. So,
awesome.
Here's a great question. This is a question that I often get asked on the channel, and it's how to deal with a cowlick in the back. So there are some people, and I've seen it in many clients, where the hair has such a strong cowlick in the back that it parts this way and it parts open. So if you have straight hair, one way to get rid of a cowlick if your hair is straight, is by doing something called confusing the root. I don't know if that's a technical term or if I made that up. Do you know the term?
Oh, Hunter, well, I mean, I know what you're saying. I've never heard it referred to that. I like that because it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I think I may have made it up, but I don't know. So what you do is you take a really fine tooth comb, and when your hair is wet, your hair has to be wet. You want to blow dry the root down, and then take that fine tooth comb, bring it to the other side and blow dry it this way, then blow dry it down, then blow dry it this way, then blow dry it down. What you're doing is you're really confusing the root in the wet stage when the hair is malleable. When the hair is dry, it will be completely gone. So I have quite a strong cowlick at the front of my hair. I've had full bangs. And a lot of people would say you could never have bangs because of your cowlick, but you can, because as long as you confuse the root in the wet stage, it will lay completely flat like someone who doesn't have a cowlick. But when it comes to curly hair, that's a very different story because you're not doing that to curly hair. So how would you tackle that, Justin?
So we call what you referred to, we call that drying it non-directional. So it's not in one direction or the other, it goes back and forth. When you're doing, I find that when you're trying to deal with curly hair, it actually gets more into the cut. There's only so much that you can do, like you said, because from the time that your hair is wet to the time that's dry, when it's curly, every like the way that you touch it, anything that's impacting it in any way is just basically causing frizz, right? Like you're trying to minimize, everything you do is trying to minimize the amount of frizz and texture you're going to get out of it. And yes, there are ways to enhance curl. So enhancing, scrunching, that kind of stuff can, if it's wet enough, can get some of that cowlick to kind of be managed, simply because you got to think like, so one of the things, the problems with straight hair is when it's straight and that cowlick splits it, you see that it's just split. It's like very obvious, right? Curly hair, it's split, but then it's split kind of wavy. So if you can get that, even the hair from the top, to kind of cover that up, it's a little harder or a little easier to kind of cover it up like this than straight hair that kind of does this, right? So part of it is honestly the cutting. If it's really long in one length or the layers on top are really long, it's going to be a lot harder to hide that because it's going to be a lot harder to get that, I don't know an easy way to explain it, to get that hair to not want to do what it wants to do. Once hair gets shorter, it's a little easier for it to get control. The concern is if you get it too short for the length, it'll actually, or too short in general, it'll have a tendency to do what it wants to do, which will even be more of that split. So there's a little bit of a sweet spot. There's some texturizing techniques that you can use that tend to work, but as far as like a day-to-day just drying process, there's not a lot that I've found that really manages that, because you're not allowed to do all the things that you do to address it. One thing that you can try is at the very end, or even while you're drying it, so you can dry all of your hair, okay, get it completely like you normally would, right? So maybe you're using a diffuser, you're tilting to the side, you're doing this. When you get to that back crown area where it's splitting, you can take your fingers and actually put them in at the roots and then kind of pull them around, like kind of mess up the roots just a little bit, and then dry that. Hold them there while you dry that. That kind of, as far as we can get, mimics that non-directional, because you're kind of taking the hair that's coming out of your fingers and you're moving them around so that the roots are going in different directions. Sometimes, in some cases, that can help. If I'm completely honest, it's not a simple answer, though. It is like, I wish that was a simple answer, because that would make my job a whole lot easier, just drying curly hair. But usually I find it's like, those are the situations where I start cutting layers into it to get your hair to react, so that we can actually get the control to get it to be able to stay one side or the other. It's a lot of that comes out from the cut, though, unfortunately. If there's not a foundation for it, the probability of you really getting that to stay where you want it to stay is going to be really tough. And I just haven't. Yeah.
There's something to be said when it comes to this world, like the curly hair world, about really going to a stylist that understands curly hair if you're wearing your hair curly, because curly hair cutting is very different than straight hair cutting in a lot of ways. And the styling is very different. And the way that you troubleshoot things is also very different. Like Justin was saying, it's an easier troubleshoot when, you have a cowlick that opens up and you have straight hair than if you have curly. So you have to go in and be able to find a solution in the cutting so that you can kind of release that weight, so it's not going to be opening up as much. So, if you haven't already, it's a good idea to look into people who do a lot of curly cuts. Make sure when you're looking at their portfolio that they have a lot of diffused haircuts and they're not just blown out straight.
Yeah. I mean, you can, if you're using a good product and you've got a good foundation for a cut in it and there's the layers, I mean, like you can dry it all curly and then you just go back into once it's even dry, you kind of go back in here, mess it all around and then just kind of pull out. It'll get a little bit textury right at the very roots right there. But it's really not a big deal. But like there's little tricks like that. But if that foundation's not there, those tricks kind of just don't work. Like it really needs to have a solid cut foundation to begin with.
Yeah. So this is a great question. I'm over 50, and when I turned 40, my hair became wavy or curly. Why would my hair become like this? It's a great question.
That's a really good question, Teresa. There are so many reasons that happens. Hormonal changes can do that. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen or if you've been through chemo or had a friend that went through chemo. I see this in chemo all the time. There's so many hormonal changes and things that are happening with your body during something like that, not aside from stress, but stress as well. And a lot of times people will lose their hair. When it comes back, their hair might have been stick straight. And when it comes back, it's quite curly, like very ringlet curly. And a lot of times even coarse or just a totally different texture. And then over time, many times it kind of goes back to normal. So I've seen this happen with stress by itself, even like no medication changes or hormonal changes. But I actually had a client, I'll never forget this. I had a client that was a guy and he used to have hair that was a little bit longer than mine on the sides, probably about this length right here. And he came into me for a long time. I'd cut his hair and we go pretty short, but not too short. And one day he has opened a restaurant in California. He came back about a month and a half later. He'd had his hair cut twice. He said, "Hey, I don't know what they did, but I want you to fix it. Make sure you don't cut it like this." His hair grew straight down like mine. It looked just like mine. When he came in after he'd been to California, when I tell you, it grew forward and then back and then forward, a full perfect S wave on really short hair. And he's like, "I don't know what they did, but I don't want it cut like that. I want it straight." And I was like, "They didn't do anything. That is your hair growing out of your scalp completely differently than it used to 2 months ago. What's been going on?" So I took him through all the questions. Have you changed your diet? Have you changed medication? Have you all we could come up, because he happened to be a man that was very specific about his nutrition. He was really into good nutrition and all these and being healthy. It was stress. That's the only thing that he had been under during that time. So stress can do that alone. Now, a few months later, that was gone. His hair is back to normal again. So stress alone can do it. Nutrition can do it. Medication can do it. There's a lot of things that can do it.
Yeah, it's a really complex thing because it's coming out of your body, right? And whenever it starts from the inside. So it's, there's just so many factors. It's another thing with hair loss. I get so many questions about hair loss, and I've struggled with hair loss. If you're new to my channel, I had terrible alopecia. I even had a hair transplant, and I vlogged about it. And I get so many questions about hair loss and like, how can I stop it? And what should I use? And why is it happening? And it's like, man, there are so many reasons why it could be happening. And it's not an easy answer, it's a very complex thing.
I did notice Teresa did say that she went through menopause when she was 40 years old. Menopause, I mean, there's so many hormonal changes going on. If you are not familiar with Dr. Marie-Claire Haver, she's on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Find her. I actually have a video on my channel that I interviewed her about hair loss and stuff like that, or different hair related stuff. She's a wealth of information. So if you have any questions about any of that stuff related to menopause, definitely find her, check her out. She's incredible.
We'll put that in the pinned comment as well. I'm going to add some links in the description box, and I'll try to get them in the pinned comment as well. But if you guys are watching the replay and you're like, what was that channel? Make sure to check the description. Justin and I will have a little powwow after. We'll add Summer's channel. We'll add that channel. We'll add the shower head so that you guys are able to get that information later. So awesome. I think we have only time for one more question. There are so many questions. If you guys are liking this live stream and you want to convince Justin to come back, give it a thumbs up, okay? If we get a lot of thumbs up, we get a lot of viewers, then we are much more inclined to continue live streaming, both on my channel and on Justin's channel. We were just having a discussion that sometimes it doesn't feel like there's much of a point in live streaming if the video doesn't perform well. So the way that you guys can tell us that you enjoy this and you want more of it is by thumbing up and watching and maybe sharing. That really helps. It gives us signals so that we know it's worth doing more of.
Yeah, we don't want to do it if you don't like it, or if it doesn't add value to you, that's no fun.
Exactly, because then we spend more time creating the content that we know you do like already.
Exactly.
Okay, there was a very great question over here, and I have lost it. Give me a second. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
This one is a really, oh my God, this is my worst nightmare in salon. Oh, so difficult. So transitioning to natural hair, especially after dyeing dark. So transitioning when you're a blonde is not that bad at all.
Yeah.
Transitioning like me, right? This is virgin, my hair is virgin. I just have a few highlights, but like when I start getting a lot of gray, if I start dyeing it my natural color, transitioning is going to be a gigantic pain in the butt, because what's going to happen is we're going to have white, and then we're going to have like very, very dark brown. If we lift the dark brown to match the roots, you're getting such an incredibly enormous amount of damage that your hair is going to be like a Brillo pad. So you can't really do that. And also to get really dark hair as cool as natural gray hair, because dark hair lifts warm inherently because of the underlying pigment in the hair shaft. It's like next to impossible. So advice for transitioning to my natural hair color, now silver. After dyeing dark for 20 plus years, my hair is long and needs a cut, and to grow it out isn't feasible. Justin, this one's on you.
So first of all, there's a few different ways to approach this. And it really, one, you have to figure out how short you're willing to go. If your hair is long, you're probably not wanting to go very short, which is absolutely fine. Gabby was talking about potential of actually going all gray in one setting. That is a potential. There are people out there that are really good at that. But I would tell you flat, like I had clients come into me and say, hey, I want to go gray. And I said flat out, no. I'm not that guy. It is an extremely specific skill set that you don't learn, you practice it, and it takes multiple decades to really get good at matching somebody's natural hair color, like a gray, to a colored, like dark. Right now, you're moving it up into a gray, but that's colored hair still. That's not natural hair. That's hair that's been colored, even if it's colored gray. Making those two things match seamlessly is near impossible. It's such an exceptional skill. So it can be done. You'd have to find the person that could do it, and then recognize that it's going to take probably 10 to 12 hours and cost thousands of dollars at least to get it done right. So there's that option. The next option is you grow it. And what you're going to find is you have that strong line of demarcation. So you've got your gray hair, and then you've got your now clearly dark hair that has been grown out. So the real question is, how do we minimize that demarcation line through the grow out process so that it's not so obnoxious? A couple ways to do that. At the very beginning, I would just let that start to grow. And I would probably just use some, actually, Gabby and I talked about this earlier today, like a hair spray. We're not big fans of the spray, powders, some sort of like, you can use regular mascara or hair mascara to just cover up around your hairline or on your part line so you don't see that grow out. Once it starts to grow, it's going to get to the point where you can't use those kinds of products anymore because they're just too gummy to be able to use on hair that's, for instance, if they're going out this far, to use on this much. So at that point, what you actually do is you go in and you get highlights. So you actually get highlights that are broken up. So you break that line up with some lighter pieces. The thing about highlights is it still has to be done by a really good colorist, because you're still taking dark hair to go light. And that process by itself to get it, like Gabby said, to a natural gray or lighter color is very dangerous to begin with. And if not done correct, it'll break, right? So you've got to be careful. Not just are you trying to get the right tone, but you're trying to keep it on your head. So you find someone that's good, you do highlights. The good thing is those highlights can be fine enough that it'll break that line up, because you'll now no longer just have white, dark. You'll have white and then some dark and white down here. It kind of starts to break that line up. Each time you do that, you add a little bit more of those highlights, and you add a little bit more until eventually you end up with basically lighter, that it transitions slowly into lighter and darker at the very bottom. Then you figure out how short am I willing to go. And once you get that darker part to the right length, you cut your darker part off and you've got salt and pepper. And then it's much easier to transition those lighter roots even that are still left over into your natural color. Those are the only possibilities. You either cut it to the length that you can grow it out and deal with, and you cut it all off and start over, or you do those highlights or lowlights, or you go find someone that really knows what they're doing to try to do it all at once and pay thousands and thousands and tens of thousands potentially. It's a stupid amount. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a lot of money because there's so much that goes into it. There's so much product needed. It's so much time. It's really tricky. It's very tricky. But with that said, I don't want it to sway anyone from not doing that if that's something that is a goal for you, because I have seen so many women go natural in during the pandemic, especially because it's kind of an easier time to transition, and it is really beautiful. I think it's incredibly empowering. It's shiny and silky, and there isn't that upkeep that is just kind of a debilitating amount of upkeep. Because, you know, when you have dark hair and you start going gray, you're looking at like 2 weeks before you have that skunk line coming in. So if you're up for that challenge, like, just know, like, this is going to be 2 years. Like, I got this, you know, within 2 years, you're going to have like a long bob and it's going to be beautiful.
And remember this, pre-COVID, I think it was a bigger deal, right? People would see that girl and they go, "Oh my gosh, you need to get your roots done," right? You know, like it was more like, I don't want to say frowned upon, but it was more maybe socially, like it was less accepted socially. Nowadays, I think so many people went to gray, especially during COVID, that it's not a thing anymore. People see grow out, they just, it's grow out. It's not a big deal, you know, like for everyone. So if you might feel insecure about it or you don't love it, but just understand that it's not as frowned upon as you might think it is. So don't allow that to be the reason that you don't realize that, like, it's not as bad as you think, you know, just manage through it. You're going to love it once it gets done. And I'm with you 100%. Gray hair is awesome, especially if you have like a cool style and you know, like a cool cut to go with it. Dude, it's one of my favorites, period. And there's nothing ignoring what you might think from my channel or what some people might think because of the titling in my videos. But I think there is nothing that says that gray hair is old inherently. I think that is a horribly outdated and stupid opinion that just because you've got gray hair, you're old. It's actually very much like that just because you have a certain age, you need to cut your hair shorter, even though my last video sounded like that. But I think if you know me, then you know that that's not what I meant. But fair enough.
Yeah, since we were on this topic, I just want to say something to you guys too. I feel like, so Justin and I are very much pro aging. You know, my entire channel is made for the woman, you know, not the entire channel, but I really have a huge focus on the woman 50 plus. I really, really, really love doing hair and makeup on women that are a little bit older. And I value the conversations I have with them so much. I value my time with them so much. I absolutely love turning them into like my glammas. That's the term we use here, from grandma to glamma. And oftentimes our titles are like, how to, you know, hair mistakes making you look older, like hair mistakes aging you faster, makeup mistakes aging you faster, how to look 10 years younger in 10 minutes. And it's not because we don't think aging is beautiful. It's because those are the videos that get clicked on. And so there's this wonderful world of search engine optimization, and women are searching those titles, they're clicking on those titles. And if our videos are clicked on, then we can help you guys feel beautiful and to be appreciated and feel loved and have a community. So I just want to put that out there because I know sometimes Justin gets some very angry comments. I think more so because he's a man.
Oh, yeah.
But it's actually very much the opposite. We are so pro aging and this community, and we just love you guys so much, and we really value the time that you spend with us on our channel. So never ever feel like we are, you know, about looking younger. It's not about looking younger at all. It's about feeling beautiful. That's all that it's about.
I've always said it's always about feeling your best and looking the best at whatever age you are, period. We will use words like older and stuff like that in the titling because that's just the behind the scenes of YouTube. You have to. You don't want to, but you have to if you want to be able to get your videos seen by people. So if we want to be able to help you guys, our only option is to name videos, title videos the way that we know they have to be titled so that you'll actually be able to see them. So it just is what it is. It's, you know, we take the hit for the team so that we can try to help people out. It's just part of the game. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Justin, for being here. And thank you guys so much for being an amazing, active part of this live stream. The comments are coming in fast. Don't forget to like and to leave more comments, more questions. I always go through the questions after the live stream. I try to answer as many as I can in the next few days. I'm sure Justin will do the same. And
Definitely.
if you like this, we'll be back again.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, you guys are the reason we're here, so we appreciate you.
All right. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you guys. Bye.